the tree of life and the tree of knowledge are really levels of consciousness. Okay. The tree of life is the level of consciousness of the one. That's the godly level. That's the field where there's no good and bad, because everything is made out of the life force. Right? The biggest expression of life force that we can experience as humans is what we call the experience of love. Now, everything is an expression of the life force, also hatred, also anger, everything. Mm-hmm. But the purest, the most synthesized in our earthly experience is the experience of love, right? So it gives you kind of a sense. Now, when you're in love with somebody, there's no judgment. Everything they do, good with you. Mm-hmm. Right? You like everything. They make mistakes. They even hurt you. You don't care. I can tell you from my experience, when I fell in love still with my love, yeah, sometimes she does things that hurt me, but I don't care, because I'm in love. I'm in love with her being, with her existence. I'm grateful that she exists. See? Mm-hmm. So when you're in that state, there's no good or bad. There's no moral code, because you're above it. It's the force of life. Think of nature, right? Nature is an expression of the life force. Different expressions, but all in, it's the life force, created nature. Right? Mm-hmm. There's no good or bad in nature. See, a wildfire, it destroys things, but it also rejuvenates. A predator does not kill for sports or for fun. It kills to live. And when it's satisfied, you can see other animals playing by a line, nothing happens. Plenty of National Geographic videos around that. Mm-hmm. There is a certain symbiosis. And when you look at it from that perspective, there's no good or bad. Right? Death, a death of an animal that another animal killed, is it good or bad? Sometimes it's hard for us to see, but there's no good or bad. It's just how it is. Right? So that's the consciousness of the tree of life. That's the consciousness of the Garden of Eden. See? Mm-hmm. So if you can tap into, and to tap into that consciousness is part of the process of enlightenment. You can live in that consciousness. And there are people that get there. Now, it's not a permanent state. You go in and out, etc. But when you're in it, there's no good and bad, because your perspective of what is happening is very different. Mm. Huh? When they ate the apple from the tree of knowledge, it's a descending. That's why they were thrown out of, or expelled out of the Garden of Eden. There was no physical activity. Their consciousness changed. So they couldn't stay in that perspective. So they went down into the world of duality. The tree of knowledge is the world of duality. I don't know if you heard, there's plenty of material online about the duality or non-duality world. A lot of people talk about it, conferences, you name it. Mm-hmm. Right? Essentially, it's the difference between those two states of consciousness. In the world of duality, there is a distinction between things. It's not one. When you look at nature, if you look at the planet from, the space station, it's one. Mm-hmm. You don't see the conflicts. You don't see the fighting. It's one piece. Right? Mm-hmm. World of duality is there's me, there's you. There's black, there's white. There's right, there's wrong. There's yes, there's no. See? There's good, there's bad. There's evil, there's just. Mm-hmm. That's a much lower consciousness. But that's the consciousness through which we experience life. You understand? Mm-hmm. We cannot experience earthly life fully without being in that consciousness, because you're removed. The whole story of the Garden of Eden is the level of consciousness. The Garden of Eden, or hell, if you subscribe to religion, they exist in this lifetime. It's not an afterlife thing. It mm-hmm. can be also based on your belief system, but they exist in the physical world. Look around. Plenty of people, majority lives in hell, and few lives in the Garden of Eden. But the true Garden of Eden is not about the size of your bank account. It's about your state of consciousness. It's how you perceive your reality. Understand? And the way to get there is to live in a state of love for everything around you, as much as you can. And then you get closer. That elevates. To do that, you need to access the main center where you feel love, which is your heart. To do that, you need to remove the layers that block this access, which is your wounding. See? And this is the essence of this work. Now, the serpent, in ancient tradition, I mean, the Bible was written in a certain time, but there are traditions that are preceding it. The serpent in almost every tradition symbolizes one of two things, and it's really the same. Either the healing force. This is why on the medical, on any medical establishment, you have the medical profession symbol. There's a sword and leaves and a serpent wrapped around it.
And Moses lifts it up in the desert.
Yes, and turns it into a king. It's the healing force. And in other tradition, it's the Kundalini energy, which is really the same, because Kundalini energy is the life force. It's an expression of the life force and how we feel it in our body, in our spine. Right? So you're really talking about the healing force. Now, why did the healing force provided the apple and connected them to the consciousness of the tree of knowledge? Because when you're in the tree of life consciousness, you don't need healing. You're healed. You're fully healed. You're at the most healed state across the board, everything. On all aspects of healing. Emotional, mental, physical, everything's healed. Right? That's the God level. So you don't need healing there. You don't need the healing agent to provide you anything.
My next question would be, why not just stay in the God level forever, if it's perfect?
Because that's a perfect question. Because at the level of the infinite, you can't experience your own qualities. Again, when consciousness itself, what we're talking about is the consciousness of one. Okay, so think of this experience, the earthly experience. Think of it as kind of a huge, infinite tub full of jello, filled with nice pink jello. Out of this jello, there are figurines that are coming out. And each figurine is its own entity. And they interact between them. But it's the same jello. You understand? So you and I are one of those figurines. Everyone else is. The plants, the flowers, the animals, everything is out of the same figurine. But when we're in that form, this is the forgetting that is mandatory for us to fully engage in this experience. So we believe the separation is real. Otherwise, we won't be able to engage in this experience. Understand? But the essence is we're just two figurines made out of the exact same thing. We're made of the same atoms, the same building blocks, the same subatomical particles. Right? Our soul is made out of the same thing. Understand? So we're interacting. And for this interaction to provide us a real experience, we cannot remember the fact that we're the same. Really, it's you or me, take your pick, talking to himself. You understand? All right. Now, the jello, to experience its qualities, how else? If you don't create this earthly experience, you can't experience your own qualities. Now, how do you really experience the qualities, the divine qualities of your experience? The way we experience it is by having pain and trauma early on in our life. And it serves two things. One, the pain that we experience shapes us. So think of it as a blob of clay. When you ever seen a potter creates a pot, a nice vase or something? It starts as a blob. And the beginning, when it starts moving it and rotating it, there's strong forces operating on it to create kind of a nice vase. But when it's almost done, the touches are very gentle, right? Pain is those forces. In the beginning of our existence, where we're just unshaped blob, the forces are big. They shape the bigger shapes, the bigger dents in our personality and how we're going to show up to life. And later, the pains that we experience, they leave smaller dents. So that's the process. So pain is the shaping of our vessel, of our pot, the pot that we are, how we show up to life. Right? That shaping determines how we show up and also how we perceive, because we perceive reality through our wounds. It also creates the glasses that we wear. Our understanding of what is good for us, what is not good, what is right, what is wrong, what is available, what is not for me. Right? As you go through life, this is your experience. Now, most people, they get to a status quo, some kind of an equilibrium with their pain, and that is it. And that's how they go through life till the end of it. Some people, they decide to venture on an exploration journey. What else is there in my experience that's outside the pain? Because most people walk with their pain daily. Right? So they venture on the process to get rid of this pain. That is called healing, real healing, inside. Deep healing, what it does, it starts releasing those layers through which we perceive reality. So our perception of reality starts to change. And as it changes, our experience unfolds. And what happens, because those glasses, they're not on our eyes, but they're also on our heart. Because the pain closes the heart. So true healing, what it does, it unlocks the heart. It releases the armor that is built as a protective mechanism around our heart. And it lets our light, our energy, to shine brighter, to show up to life differently. And as this happens, life starts to change in very mystical and magical ways. And I can talk about it and I can give you examples, but it doesn't matter, because you and everyone else that engages it, they need to discover it on their own, in their own story. And through that, you discover your divine nature. Understand? And this is the purpose of pain. And this, what I describe, is the true journey of the soul. This is why I called my course the hero's journey. The hero is not the physical body, it's your soul. And the purpose of this whole human experience, the descending from the tree of life consciousness to the tree of knowledge, and then trying to ascend back, is spirit or God or the one or the field discovering its qualities, going back to the human experience and discovering its divine qualities back. And that's why we have pain. That's why we have life. That's why we exist. That's the true reason, as much as I understand it, why we have this human form. Why not stay spirit all along? Make sense? That's as concise as I can provide it.
That's pretty damn concise. That's a lot to ask. I know. Thank you.
Thanks.